Let me ask you this question real quick. So your dad, my grandfather, went to A&M class in 1938. He was commissioned in I think the Army Air Corps, and then that became the Air Force. So were you always dead set on going to A&M and getting in the military and being in the Corps? When did you make that decision?
Very, 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 very early. Okay.
Yeah.
There was not much doubt about what I was going to do, but I can remember going to the A&M SMU game my freshman year in high school. Okay. We drove to College Station, and A&M was number one in the nation. Don Meredith was a quarterback for SMU. And that's the first time they came out with what they call SMU spread. Okay. And we had Charlie Kruger, John David Crow, Jack Pardee, the whole works. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we ended up winning the game, but I can remember them singing The Spirit of Aggie Land. And that sort of solidifies it. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, looking across the field at the Corps and all that, really, there was no doubt about where I was going to go. I didn't care who else offered me a scholarship or how much money or anything else. And that was a long time ago. In fact, Janice, when she sees these football players with leather helmets on, she asked me if I wore one of those.
So you show up to A&M and did you just walk into the coach's office? I mean, how did the football thing happen at A&M?
Well, I walked in the coach's office, but I had one coach that I talked to said, "We're not going to give you a scholarship, but we'll let you be a preferred walk-on."
Nice.
So I was fortunate there. I was a preferred walk-on. I got to eat on the training table. They put me in Law Hall, which is where they put all the scout team players. Okay.
Yeah.
The big guy stayed in Henderson. It was air conditioned, the only air conditioned place on campus.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I had a chance, and my roommate the first night was a 27-year-old Navy veteran that was coming out for the football team, and he had tattoos up and down his arm. I mean, before tattoos got popular. Okay.
Right.
He's got all these weights in there. And I'm thinking, I'm 18 years old, scared to death, got to go to class, got to go to football practice the next day. And Ray does too. But anyway, so about midnight, about 5 or 6 of his buddies come over and they play poker all night. I'm trying to sleep. But anyway, so thank goodness Ray lasted one day. And he was out of it. So it wasn't that he wasn't tough. It's that he had kind of gone through that. He was 27 years old and stuff like that. I never saw the guy again. So I was without a roommate for a couple of months, and it was kind of cold, dark, and lonely in there. And all of a sudden, I hear this voice behind me say, "Hey, you need a roommate." And I turn around, it's Waylon Ward, which is probably my best friend. And he had a roommate. He was a year ahead of me, and he lived in Law Hall, but his roommate had been thrown off the football team. And I said, "Waylon, I need a roommate in the worst possible way." So anyway, we moved in together, and he passed away a couple of years ago. But this is a good example also of leadership. I think that just a little encouragement like that. I mean, God, I would have done anything for that guy.
Yeah.
And he picked me up when I was really, really needed to be picked up. And so anyway, I started on the 4th team.
That's like Jackie Sherrill was talking about. He was like, at Alabama, there was a red team, a white team, a purple team, a green team, a yellow team, a black team. Because you wanted to get there early so you weren't on like the purple team, right?
Well, I started on the 4th string, okay?
Yeah.
And I thought I'd done pretty good in the pre-testing, but anyway, in about a week, I moved up to the 3rd team. I got promoted, okay?
Okay.
And it was simply because of a lot of hard work and the fact that the guy in front of me quit. He quit and left. So Beckcom, you're 3rd string now.
Yeah.
So I didn't play. I only played a very short couple of plays my first year. Made the tackle both times. They took me out, and I never figured that out. But I got to sit up for all the freshman games. We had a lot of fun. I made a lot of friends, a bunch of great guys. We had so many high school All-Americans. It was unbelievable, of which a whole bunch of them are dead now.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of went through my freshman year, and then we switched coaches. Come back to my end of my freshman year, I did pretty good. I got a scholarship my sophomore year, and I suited up for 3 games. Did not play, but I suited up for 3 games, and then I don't know. I just didn't seem to put it together after that. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I hung with it until about halfway through my junior year, and then I had an opportunity to go into the Corps full time, and it was kind of one of these perfect storms. Okay. I mean, I was 175 pounds, couldn't keep any weight. I had 2 guys that beat me up on a regular basis, Ray Kubala and Jerry Hopkins, and they both played in the pros. Fantastic guys, okay?
Yeah.
If I'd ever been shot down as a POW, they couldn't have beat me up worse than Ray and Jerry did. But anyway, never missed a workout. You just couldn't keep on any weight, and that's no excuse. But that's kind of what happened, and I had a chance to go into the Corps full time and be a full time Corps person. So that's what I did approximately halfway through my junior year, and it actually worked out pretty good.
Do you have any regrets about not finishing football?
Oh yeah, I do, but I would call it not a regret, but maybe half a regret. Okay,
Yeah.
because I'm a firm believer in you finish what you start. You finish what you start.
Yeah.
But if I had finished, I probably would have never played, which is okay. But I got so much out of the Corps, and I didn't get beat up. A million things could have happened. And I met some guys in the Corps Cadets that were still my great friends, love them to death. So I guess when you want to look at it, I got the best of both worlds.
Nice.
I go back for the football reunions, and I can tell these guys, you remember those 4 sacks I got against UT in 1963 when they were number? Oh yeah, Beckham, you had a great game that game. Same stories every year. Nobody knows what happened.
Isn't that something? Back when I was a walk-on at A&M, I played in 7 or 8 games, scored 2 points, and nowadays, 30 years later, nobody cares. I mean, literally nobody cares. All they care about is that you were on the team. It's kind of remarkable. So you were in the Corps for a couple of years. You were successful as far as it goes in the Corps, and then you graduated and you were commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in the United States Air Force. Was it your intent for a long time to get in the military like your dad did?
Yeah, I had 2 objectives. I wanted to be in the service, go in the military, and I wanted to teach high school.
Really?
And so that worked out really well. I went to NAV training out in California. I graduated from A&M in May of '65, and I left San Antonio, where my parents were stationed, in August of '65. Went out there, and there were 40 in our class, in our undergraduate navigator training class. Okay.
Yep.
The first UNT class to ever go through Mather in Sacramento, California. Before that, there'd been a James Conley in Waco. So I got to go to California, and there were, I think, 35 Air Force Academy graduates. These were the first Academy graduates in that class that were not pilot washouts. Okay, They went directly to NAV school. Bunch of fantastic guys. We had a couple of ROTC guys in there like me. We had one West Pointer, but we didn't want to do what all the other young bachelor lieutenants do when they go to pilot or navigator training. We didn't want to party with the girls in California. We wanted to do community service projects.
Yeah, right.
So we spent on the weekends.
Yeah.
We would go up old ladies across the street and stuff like that. And
yeah, sure.
that's not exactly true.
Let me ask you this question: Why NAV school? Why not pilot school?
This is going to sound kind of weird, probably, but I was never that interested in flying. I mean, really? And yeah, it was something that was fun, but I wasn't as totally interested in it. So I said, if I'm not totally interested in it, maybe I ought to take another look.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and I have absolutely, positively no regrets whatsoever. I did exactly what I needed to do at the time. And
what was the status of the Korean and Vietnam War back in 1965 when you're commissioned. If memory serves, Vietnam hadn't started, or at least it was really off the radar in 1965. But there was a chance that you would go see combat when you graduated. Isn't that right?
Well, I had about a year and a half of school I had to go to first. Okay.
Yeah.
I had to go through nav training, nav bomb training, survival training, and I ended up at Barksdale in Shreveport, Louisiana, where you were born, in April of '67. Okay. And the war was beginning to heat up pretty big time then, but the B-52s were not going over there just yet. So anyway, I was a B-52 navigator to start with, and then I guess it was '68. We had a real good crew, a very, 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 very good crew. Great pilot, great co-pilot, great navigator, who was me, of course. A great radar navigator, a good electronic warfare officer, and a good gunner. So our pilot got an assignment and left the base, so we got another guy. Absolutely the worst possible situation. He was not a nice person, okay? But anyway, well, we didn't know that, so we volunteered to go overseas and fly B-52 missions. Just a couple of the crews from Barksdale would go. We went over there, and it was a 179-day disaster, okay? That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
We had a little co-pilot that was outstanding, and this pilot would be on final approach, and the co-pilot would say something like, "I think you're a little low." And the pilot would say, "I know where I am. I can handle this." This is a good example of leadership, because this is what this whole thing is about. Okay.
Yeah.
You better listen to your subordinates, or you're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
There's a 500-pound safe hanging over your head.
Yeah.
And that did not endear us to him. But we had a gunner that had shot down, believe it or not, a Japanese airplane in New Zealand in the Second World War. That's how old he was. Okay.
Wow.
But Pappy had a problem with the booze. All right.
Yeah.
And they had to send him home because of alcoholism. This pilot never even went over to see him before they deployed him back. Never even went over to see him. The radar nav and I went over, and we saw him and talked to him and tried to give him a little bit of comfort. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another example, I think, of lack of leadership. I mean, when people have problems, you don't have to agree with them, or you may have to make a decision that's a little untasteful, but at least you try to show them that you care. Okay, that you care about it.
Sure.
And, anyway, we spent 179 days over there. I don't even know how many missions we flew. We flew a bunch out of Guam. We flew a bunch out of Thailand. We came back and we hit the ground. And the first thing we went in is we talked to the squadron commander. And the radar navigator, who was probably the most talented human being I've ever met, told Colonel Birmingham, he said, "Bud, you either get us a different pilot or you get us all off this crew." And of course, Colonel Birmingham, "Well, now, just a second, Don, let's stand by. You just got back." Don said, "No way, Bud. This is the way it's going to be."
Yeah.
Because Don could talk to the big hot shots like that, and they never questioned him. But anyway, so ended up with a different pilot, and met your mother during that time.
Give us the time frame. What year is this?
This is 1970, I guess 1970.
Okay.
And I was a big squash player, which is a combination of racquetball and tennis. So I was playing squash one day, happy bachelor, flying on a crew, made captain, no big deals. And I look up, and there's this really good looking little nurse looking over the side watching the game. So after it was over with, I said, it didn't have anything to do with the way she looked. Okay.
Right.
I felt like I should at least go up and introduce myself. So I went over, I introduced her. I gave her some long story, and she said, "Well, could I come up and cook in your house, your apartment sometime?" Because we lived in the same bachelor officer quarters on base. So I did. And anyway, I guess that was during Christmas time. She went home and to Pennsylvania and spent a couple of weeks there. And she came back and she left all her dishes in my BOQ room because I didn't have anything but a bar fork and one plate and one fork. Okay.
All you needed. It's all you needed back then.
Yeah, what do you need, man?
Yeah.
And I finally got us all king size beds. I mean, they were on sale, so it worked out good. But anyway, we got back and I've got all her dishes, and I said, you know, I'm not going to call her. I'm going to make her call me and ask her for her dishes. About a week later, she calls me and she says, wants her dishes back. I said, well, that would be fine, but there's a stipulation of that. You have to come over and watch TV with me tonight. So anyway, it was all uphill from there.
I met Kara, I met my wife, Kara, in law school. And I always tell her it was her intellect that I was attracted to at first. It had nothing to do with her having great legs and being an athlete or anything like that. It was that she was very good at contract law. That's what I was really attracted to at first.